Okay, so in this video, we will briefly go over family as an institution. So let's start with it. Uh, when we talk about family, please do keep in mind that we need to distinguish between families and households. So, what are households? Household is basically just a residential unit. It consists of people living together. Now, usually these people are unrelated to one another, but they can be related as well. If these people are related to one another, then the household is not just a household, it's a family, because people are living together and they are also related. In a household, people can live together, but there's no precondition that they should be related to one another. So that means that every family is a household, but every household is not a family. All right. Now, when we talk about people living together, we can one of the examples that has existed throughout history and which exists even today is the example of the Israeli kibbutz. Okay, so I'll just put it down here. It's called the kibbutz. Now, uh, kibbutz is an Israeli household where a number of people live together. It's a Jewish conception, and they look after one another. But there is no relationship. There may be no relationship between these people. They till the land. They live together. They support one another economically, but no guarantee that they are related to one another. Then we go to what is called the definition of the family. So please keep in mind there is a conventional definition of the family, and that definition suggests four characteristics that a family must have. So, what are the four characteristics? Firstly, there should be a common residence. Secondly, which is very, very important, the family needs to, or the members of the family need to engage in economic support of one another. Once that happens, then they also reproduce, they produce offspring. The future generation comes through the family, which makes the family an extremely important unit for any sociological setting. And of course, these families can have children. Now, the families that are constituted can either be monogamous, which means that in a it comes from the word mono and monogamy. So, mono means one. So, the people here who are married, they have one spouse. So they have one partner. That's a monogamous family. All right. The other form is the polygamous. In a polygamous situation, there can be more than one partner for a single person. This is a sexual partner. Maintaining a sexually approved relationship, that is important in a family. The relationship has to be socially approved. So this is a classic example of a monogamy where there is one man and he has one wife. In a polygamous situation, there are two types of polygamies. One is polygyny, which means a man is married to a number of women at one time. Okay, so it can be two wives, three wives, four wives, as long as, once again, socially approved. It's a social construction. Please do keep in mind, families are social constructions too. In rare situations, there can be one woman married to a number of men, and this is called a polyandry. It used to exist a lot in the times before the Hebrew prophets and before Islam and Christianity. But now this form of marriage has become rather rare. So. So that is the situation. Now, in a family, you will always find some form of kinship. Now, what is kinship? Kinship is closeness. Okay, people who are in a family are sort of bound by kinship relationships. They have a certain level of closeness with one another. So, what is this kinship based on? The kinship can be based on three things. The closeness that exists can be based on three things. It can either be based on biology, uh, mother and child. That is a classic biological closeness. Okay, so closeness can be created on the basis of biology. The second is affinity. Affinity simply means liking. I live with another person because I like the other person. Affinity is liking. All right, and the third is law. So the law, the classic example of closeness which is created by law is marriage. Okay, so two people who were completely unrelated until yesterday, once they get into a matrimonial relationship recognized by the law, they become a family, they become partners in life. So then that brings us to marriage. The traditional definition of marriage is a union between a man and a woman. The Judeo-Christian tradition still defines it as a union between a man and a woman. In the Islamic tradition, it is also a union between a man and a woman. Of course, Islam does not recognize in any form any other form of marriage. However, the modern definition, no, I should use the word, the contemporary definition is that a marriage is a union between two people, because we need to take into account same gender marriages as well, which are now legal in places like Ireland. So, so based on these new developments, what are now the features of family? So there's physical maintenance, physical care, because human beings need to be cared for physically, emotionally, and economically. So that has to be there. Procreation, the generation moves forward, or it can be through adoption. A very important function of the family is socialization, uh, teaching the values. And if you haven't watched my video on values, please do watch it. It's in this channel. So values, social control of children. Okay, so another very important thing that the family does, it does production of goods, but these days it does consumption of goods, which is very important. So when we talk about families, we're talking about the nuclear family, in which there are only two generations, father, mother, and the children. Or then there are extended families. These are multifunctional families in which there are networks of families living together, and they perform a range of functions. Okay, a range of functions, because these families are mainly concerned with production. So when they are concerned mainly with production of goods and services, then they need more hands to do the work. All right, also please keep in mind that these families are kinship based, they are closeness based. The closeness is created on the basis of biological bonds. Okay, and also financial bond, because people living together, working together, and they are there for the economic sustenance and financial sustenance of one another, which makes them economically productive. The extended family is a production oriented family, it's economically productive. The nuclear family is more like a consumption oriented. In a nuclear family, people consume more. In an extended family, people produce more. All right, it has been said that these extended families have traditionally existed in the pre-modern era, and even at the start of the modern era. But some thinkers have doubted that. They have said that, look, in the previous years there were no vaccines available, there was no treatment available, there were no medicines available, so healthcare was pretty miserable. So in those days, the average life of a person was 35 to 40 years, especially in Europe. So where did people get the years to live? There were no years, there was very little chance of grandfather, father, and their children living together, because three generations, you didn't survive for three generations, so how will you have an extended family? So what's the modern trend? The modern trend is that the average family size is decreased, and it is decreased because of the following reason. There is choice, people have decided not to have children, or it becomes small because of equivocation. What do you mean by equivocation? Equivocation means that people are not really sure whether they want to have children or they don't want to have children at a particular point in time. At a particular point, they're not really sure whether they want to have children or not. So that delays. Okay, and that brings us to the concept of delay. A delay means uncertainty. I don't have the money right now. Should I have children? Okay, I'll have them tomorrow. I'll have them next year. I'll have them the year after the next. All right. But we know that financial conditions of the world are not improving one year after the next. They're actually getting worse. So when you leave things for the future, the greater chances is, I mean, one chance, of course, is that you discover a gold mine and then you become a very rich person. I mean, that happens too. But in reality, what do majority of the people experience? They experience a worsening of financial conditions one year after the next, because inflation goes up, job opportunities go down, and as Marx says, the army of unemployed people simply keeps getting bigger. Another thing that happens is that the education you have becomes outdated, and new and better educated, younger, more energetic people come into the workforce as the years pass. So uh, what happens? Your financial situation does not improve. The delay merely means that you will not have children for a number of years, and after those years, the biological condition of the parents also doesn't permit them to have children. Another reason why family size has gone down is women are staying longer in education. Okay, when you go into the uh, job market, what does an average employer require of you? A 30-year-old worker with 25 years of experience. That's what they're looking for. Okay, keep yourself in education street. Now, education used to be a BA, used to be 2 years. There is no sense of increasing it to 4 years, but it has been increased to 4 years, and more women are going into education. Look at India. In India, the Muslim population, in the Muslim population previously, like 100 years ago, they used to have very few women in education. Today, there are a lot of women in education. So that also means that their childbearing age passes. The family performs a very important function, and that is teaching children how to learn the basic process of socialization: saying hello, saying hi, doing right, not stealing. These are the basic functions that the family always teaches. The mother and the father, especially the mother, teaches her child these basic ethics, these basic etiquettes, these basic means of socialization, even when they are not ethical. But socialization is taught by the mother. She provides an emotional home. She wants, she makes the child wanted and loved. The family also regulates sexual behavior. Now, that is also very important. Without family, it is very difficult to control the sexual behavior of the people. Please do keep in mind, family performs some basic function, which is basic socialization, teaching these values. It performs some peripheral functions as well, like education, healthcare, and recreation. So it is possible for the family to give up to give up its peripheral functions. It can always ask the hospital to take care of the child. It can always ask the school to educate the child. But the family cannot give up the function of primary socialization, which is teaching children the basics of how to socialize and teaching them the basic values. Okay, I hope this was helpful. Thank you very much indeed.